way too sweet.
And we're back.
No warning there. Thanks for that.
No. It didn't. So there was in the chat. In the team speak, I say 2 minutes left, 30 seconds left, and then I'm like, hey, I wonder if Chad's gonna make it.
Oh dear.
Boom! So, I'm here.
Yeah, you did make it. You did make it. Awesome.
That's just crazy. So what were you saying, Vela? You're saying that a man's strength should be strong and a woman's strength should be weak? Is that what you were saying earlier? I don't know.
No, actually, it's actually the opposite. I was basically saying guys were weak because if I drink really sweet alcoholic drinks, it makes my stomach hurt. So maybe girls have, some better, I don't know.
I can't do sweet drinks either. They hurt my stomach.
My drink used to be.
See, I'm not alone.
My drink used to be Southern Comfort and Coke, and that was insanely sweet. I don't know how I stomached it.
And amaretto sours, wasn't it?
Amaretto sours. I don't know.
I can't do them. They're too
really?
Sweet. Knob Creek neat. Thank you very much.
Woo! Listen, I like my whiskey neat.
I like my whiskey neat too.
Yeah.
So, we kind of left off on the workshop, and I don't want to monopolize the time. So if you guys have thoughts on it now that it's been in practice for like 2.5, 3 weeks, something like that, what are you guys' thoughts?
I really think that it was, I don't know, it's awesome because I'm a big fan of game design in general, and I think all most gamers, have an opinion on everything. So it's pretty cool. I mean, they have the big thing about the workshop too for people to understand is like all these races they have set in their head, like how they're going to fit in the game, in the dynamics of how their race is going to act, but how they look, we're the ones who are going to get to see it all the time. We're the ones playing in the world, so that's the real thing for them. Is they're like, hey, these guys not only can they have their say and help develop what the world's going to be like, but all of us putting in our 2 cents and pushing development is going to, especially when they do build competitions, which the workshop is not that yet. People are building stuff, but it's not about building yet. But when people start doing that, like the amount of content that'll get produced a studio would not be able to compete, especially on the budget. It's just so much more stuff. So the workshop is pretty cool. I like it. I mean, I'm not a super expert builder in Landmark, so the stuff I've submitted was writing, and I comment on other people's stuff, that they've done, because they're literally reading everything. I mean, except maybe like a few things where people are totally trolling, but everybody else, they're reading everything. It's pretty cool to see the developers respond to you and to other people. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, some of the stuff that like Brad Power and Kodavos and all those amazing builders have been working on is fantastic. We've seen some really cool things. Towers that are being built, which it's just pure voxelmancy. I don't know how they're doing it, but I will say it is very cool to see things that might be in EQN start to pop up in Landmark, because it's starting to get us that glimpse. Just when you logged into Landmark, you're like, oh, this is what EQ Next is going to be like. I'm kind of seeing that again, because I'm seeing real structures come into play that just scream Norath, and it's awesome. The backstory we're getting from the developers are great. I think the coolest thing for me about this whole workshop is the fact that it's another avenue for them to communicate with us based on what they're doing for EQ Next and not just Landmark. They're able to make Landmark the testing ground. They're able to kind of bring the dialogue back in. And so far, like the feedback from Rosie and stuff's been awesome. It's been really cool.
Yeah, that's my takeaway from it. Like we knew that we were going to have input, right? But I thought that it would be like, concept, they present the concept to us, we give them feedback, and then they move on to the next concept that they want to present.
And who knows if they changed anything or yeah.
Right. And I had no idea that it was going to be like they were going to take our feedback and give us feedback on our feedback, right? So they're like, hey, this is what we think Dark Elves should look like. And then we're like, okay, well, what do you think of this design and this design? And they're going through and when they have time, because I realize they're probably seeing a lot of stuff, that they're able to provide feedback to us on what their concept is. And I had no idea that that was the way that the workshop was gonna work, and I think that that's just like pretty amazing. And I know that this is like the first race that we're seeing them do this with, so I'm wondering if this is going to be like, is this going to last through the whole thing? And maybe by the time we get to the 8th or the 9th race, they're like, okay, yeah, that sort of like, are they going to wear out on this whole communication aspect since it's so new? Other than that, I mean, I think that pretty amazing stuff. And like Velix said, I am not the voxelmancer. I do not practice the art of voxelmancy. But I can write. I can tell you what I think of your design. I can sketch out, like, hey, I think this would be awesome. You guys should take, and I think that is how I'm going to find my way to contribute to the project. And I think that my second job is to encourage other people who aren't the voxelmancers to like, hey, give your feedback. Tell them what you think, for the good or for the bad, either way.
I drew a dark elf a while ago.
Show it off.
Oh god, I don't know if I have it over here.
Legendary Neurotoxin asks in the chat, how do you feel about the speeding up of revealing Dark Elf lore? I'll say that yes, it should have been done forever ago. So I am all okay with the advancement of lore for any purpose. You give us new information, I'm cool with it.
See, one thing on that, I interviewed both the authors, Drake and Lassen, like, over the last couple months. I interviewed each one, and, like, they told me some, a few things. They couldn't really tell me a whole lot, but I really thought that next book that tells what happens to the Teardal was, like, I thought it was, like, a week away, 2 weeks away. And, like, I just tweeted Steve Denuser, the lore guy for EverQuest Next, the other day. I was like, hey, what's happening for this? What happens to the Teardal? Like, we're in the Dark Elf workshop. We should see that. Can we see it? And he just responded. He's like, it's not quite ready yet, but they're doing good work. And I was like, come on, crack the whip on those guys. Like, this is like stuff that could be really helpful for us right now.
Right.
That's true. But we did see, I love the added sense of Dark Elf culture that we've gotten from the workshop.
Yeah.
The fact that they are kind of misconstrued to be evil, but necessarily that's not true, and that they have like a Renaissance culture. I thought that was fascinating, that they purposely go above and beyond to like spend money into arts and architecture and building something extravagant, not necessarily something powerful and evil, but something beautiful in their own way to show that they are misunderstood. I thought that was pretty deep. I don't know. Oh, I was going to ask, the poll. What'd you guys think about the poll? They took screenshots. Rosie made a poll.
The color palette one?
It was a color palette. It went like red, blue. What kind of undertones would you like to see?
See, and I had, and maybe it's because I've been playing too many real-time strategy games, right? So that you like have a faction, so you have all these human factions, right? But this human faction is red and this human faction is blue and that sort of thing. And I thought it would be really cool, like to show that the different that within the Teardal, if there were different segments of the population that lean a certain way, or maybe even make it regional, like we're the northern Teardal and these are the southern Teardal, so we're like red and orange and these guys are red and yellow type thing. I thought that was pretty cool. I personally didn't vote because I have no strong opinion either way. I love their ideas, their concept for the architecture. I think they're great. They know what they want. They can communicate that what they like easily to us, and we can provide feedback. But when it comes to like the nuances of color, I'm like, whatever.
I was kind of talking with Chad about in our break, because it's been so done so far, as far as the dark elves in the past of the purples, and the blues and all that cool. I really think these Teardal are really, aggressive and intimidating, and I'd like to see more of the warmer colors in there to, put off that red, dangerous vibe. I think purple kind of does that, and it's a little mysterious, but blue, totally. I'm not a fan of the blue. It's just, it's so cool, it's so, not them.
Muted. Purple kind of has that mystery to it, like that Yeah, you're right. You're right. Red looks beautiful. Coda was saying that red and purple work best on his build. I'd like to see that. I don't know, but the poll didn't go that way. What do you think, Gladys?
I don't know. I like the red. I think I really, really enjoyed the red out of all of them. I think the red was, they were warriors going in. I mean, we're talking. I'll bring up a little bit of the. I mean, they were warriors that were transformed, and they're coming from a warrior background. So you would think that red shows a little more aggression, and I know they're not necessarily evil, but just because you're not evil doesn't mean you're not a warrior community. So
I wear
aggressive.
red. I'm not evil normally.
But Kai will still lop off your head if you step to her.
My husband's over there laughing at me.
I need to go back to when you made that comment about PvP like 6 months ago, whatever, and you're like, if you PvP with me, I will mess you up. And no, that's not evil, not at all.
This is the guy who yells at his wife in PvP when I'm not doing it right.
Let's just go with aggressive. Let's say red is aggressive. Nothing to do with evil, because evil implies right or wrong. Just aggressive. That's almost kind of a neutral stance.
There is no such thing as evil.
No, there isn't. No,
I like that though. If you were going to say that red is a more aggressive color and the Teardal should, would look better in a reddish light because it shows that aggression, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about the Spartans through history, the most intimidating military force ever, like Crimson was their one color, crimson and gold.
Yep.
Right, and like the even businessmen today, right? What do they call the red tie? The red
tie. Power tie.
It's the power tie.
Yep.
But that's because so if you really want to go into it, there's color theory, right? And there's red is the color of passion, of strength, of intimidation. And so if they're going to want a particular portrayal that links a certain emotion set to a certain race, then they should go through color theory. And I'm sure that the people on the art team are very familiar with color theory because, hello, art team. Red makes more sense for that type of mentality. It really does. Yeah. Just like I think a purple, red, blue color palette would be phenomenal for the Dark Elves.
Yeah.
Yes, I call them Dark Elves still. I apologize. Well, you're lucky I don't call them Drow.
They are. In EQ1, they were the Dark Elves.
When I see them and hear about them, is that they're Drow.
Drow.
Yeah.
I have to keep telling myself not to call them Drow, because it's totally a whole nother type of thing. There was a huge debate on the workshop about that in one of the guides I posted, because I was big on, getting across the psychology of this race, and when people were just fighting about it, because people have so many that D&D, Drow style Dark Elf in their head, and this one is totally different. It's a whole new take on the, North mythology Dark Elf from history, so...
Well, the part of the reason why I'm comfortable using the word Drow in reference to the Teardal, the Dark Elves, the whatever elves you want to call them.
The tormented Coatadal.
Yeah, so is because I've heard numerous people on at Sony. We used to play D&D. We still play D&D. And so I realize that they've probably drawn, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, they've probably drawn some concept from Dungeons and Dragons. I think every fantasy game that's ever been made post Dungeons and Dragons looks back at Dungeons and Dragons, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because I grew up playing D&D. I love D&D and games that have that sort of D&D-esque feel to it. It has a special little place in the cockles of my heart. So I don't say it like a bad thing,
The cockles.
The cockles of my heart.
I mean, if you follow Pentapod on Twitter, she posts, maybe Elisa, I think once a month, I think she has her group come together and they play D&D. Yeah, and I think it's an all-day experience because she posts at least a good solid, maybe, 4 hours of gaming photos of character sheets and lemon bars that she made for the gaming session.
Right.
And I was like, I wish I really wish I was in her gaming group because she bakes and it's all delicious.
She's always
See,
making
that-
press sweet too. It's awesome.
That was the funny thing. Like back when I was still running a D&D game, that was my day. Like I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I did the cooking and the baking all morning and afternoon. And then between like 11 and 1 o'clock, my friends would start trickling over, and I'd already have the living room set up, and there was an ice chest full of cold drinks and hot food in the kitchen and brownies and shit cooling on the counter. Like that, it was D&D day. I mean, there was Mountain Dew and Funyuns and, you know.
Yeah, it's just
all
dedicated.
the nerdy snack foods all over the house and candy bars.
We're
and,
separated
you know.
by too many states. We're separated by way too many states.
Gladys, we have a spare bedroom.
I
You are
know.
welcome to come out here. You should, you know what? Okay, just say, come on. Come out here and
I
hang
know.
out with us for a couple of days and look for a job out here. That sounds like a great idea.
There's no jobs out here. I mean,
God damn it. Tamlin, shut the fuck
It's
up.
all ruined. You ruined the plan.
no. I was talking with someone. That's what it was. I went back to Seattle, not the previous weekend, right? And so I'm talking to all my real life friends that are still back in Seattle, and like I'm trying to give them an idea of where the heck it is I live, right? And so I pull out my phone and I pull open a map, right? And I'm like, okay, you see, this is LA. This is the LA basin. It's on the coast, right? Okay, you go over the mountains. You see this is the desert. This is the Mojave, right? Okay, you see this dry lake bed. This is where I work. Okay, and then I open, scroll and I scroll and make it bigger, right? And I'm like, okay, you see this little green patch right here in the middle of the desert? And
We don't live there.
No, that's where we live. It's like, what is this little green dot in the middle of the desert? Because there's like, nothing out here. It's like 45 minutes down the road to get to the nearest movie theater.
I don't understand how it's a green dot on the map, but okay.
That green, that I hate to say it, but it's the golf course.
Oh god, that's true. It's totally
God.
true. That is the one green dot here. Yep.
What was it?
Oh,
The offense to nature or something like that? Was that Bobby from King of the Hill? He's like talking about Phoenix, Arizona, and it's like it's an offense to God and nature or something to be living out here with a green, with a lawn or whatever. I'm just way
Wow.
off topic.
Wow.
Bobby.
So, going back to the workshop, I want to ask you guys a question about which is kind of like your favorite race that you want to see. But first, before that, we did get a little tidbit. I think it was off the last live stream, or no, it was off Twitter actually. Someone was asking pagoda styles, if pagodas would be acceptable for Dark Elves, and Rosie explicitly stated that no, we're saving that for a different
For
race.
someone else,
And
yep.
if you guys remember, based off the art that we saw, the ogres are very kind of dynastic looking, kind of Eastern. Have an appeal to them that's very kind of
Ancient
Eastern.
Chinese Empire.
Ancient Chinese Empire of ogres. So that's going to be cool to see. I'm definitely thinking that's pretty much a confirming. I mean, it necessarily doesn't link the two, but come on, we can draw the dots on our own. So that's really cool. But then just back to that question. I guess what's the next race you guys would like to see, or if not, what would be your favorite race if Tyrdal isn't your favorite?
I will probably end up playing a human, but I think that the dwarf is the one that I'm looking forward to the most, like because I don't know, in every fantasy game, like you look at what the dwarves' art and their architecture is like, and you're just like, that's the one to me that's the most mind blowing, and I actually like that's one that I might not do like any voxelmancy, but I'll be like, yep, this is what I see, and they should have this and this, and I would have said gnomes, but my gnomes are totally different than the Norath gnomes, and so I'm like, eh.
He's really kind of boring.
Are you like the old like D&D gnomes, like the small little?
Well,
Like-
that's why I asked Twina, and again, this is my EverQuest, my Norath ignorance. I came from Talon, which is Vanguard, and the gnomes in Vanguard are not the mechanical sword. Like they tinker and stuff, and they have a lot of that, but they have a lot of crystal magic, right? So you see that they've got like not like their structures aren't made out of crystals, but like crystals are a very special place to them. And to me, I would like to see them not be more like wood elves underground, right? So they have mushroom houses and they incorporate the roots into their building structure. Those
Garden gnomes.
garden gnomes, right? Okay.
Travelocity.
That's a roaming gnome.
Go ahead, Tamlin. Go ahead.
No, it's cool. It's cool. But that's just like when I'm thinking gnomes, I like brownies. Like you take all the fake, all the
brownies
fake...
are in Norath. I will give you that. They are in Norath.
Right. Well, you just take all the fake creatures. Right. You take all the fake creatures and you break them out into their different sub races. And the dwarves are over here, and the gnomes are not close to the dwarves. They're over here, close to the fae, in my mind. And I know that probably is not normal or whatever, but yeah.
Totally not Norath.
Yeah, Dragonlance was totally like that too. Like the gnomes, like they had their whole Tinker City and they built machines and all that sort of stuff. And that's fine. I don't, but with that said, like if that's the type of gnomes that they're creating for Norath, then I'm going to say that the dwarves would be the race that I'm looking forward to the most.
All right. Who would like to go next, Flatus?
I was gonna say if they're gonna do gnomes, they're probably gonna do like the clockwork tinkering gadget gnomes that we probably.
That's what we see in EQ1. That's what we see in EQ2 as well. Yeah, very tinkerish.
So we're probably gonna see like I would love. Listen, if there is a gnome workshop, if the next wave brings out the gnomes, I would love to see someone build like a giant cuckoo clock, and that's like a house for a gnome, like the entrance for a gnome thing, and it's like all gears on the inside and stuff.
That would be awesome.
Like that's kind of listen. If you steal it, put my name next to yours. Wink.
So, I believe it's EverQuest 2. There are some really, really beautiful, amazing, phenomenal wings you can buy your characters.
Yep.
Yeah, they have a lot of really pretty ones.
I will admit that I'm not a big fan of playing EverQuest 2, but I've put a lot of money into Station Cash because the armor in that game is really pretty. I know it's weird. I don't really play it, but I'll buy the armor.
It is gorgeous.
I really nice. Love that there is like these cool tinkery clockwork looking mechanical wings with gears and steampunk stained glass. I mean, it's freaking steampunk stained glass wings. They're amazing. I want gnomes like that.
Yeah, they have this, it's like a gnomish hover mount, too, where you kind of just, like, sit on the platform and the gears, like, elevate you, and, I think, Flatus, you saw my cape.
I've seen it.
It's like a gear on the cape,
yeah.
And like, the middle of the gear see-through, so it's, like, the middle of the cape.
Yep.
It is, yeah.
It's really nice.
And I'd like to see that in Landmark. I'm going to say Karen, because of the way they want to make Karen so tribalistic, and they're kind of like the main ones who kind of worship the old gods. So I'm really interested to see that kind of tribal aspect, because everyone's building like these big fortresses and things, but I'd like to see jungle huts made and unique takes on that, more environmental work maybe, but that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I was going to say Karen too. I saw Neuro pointed out in the chat and I was like totally thinking of it.
Oh yeah, you pointed out too.
The thing so far though is like the character model that they currently have, that they showed at SOE Live, is kind of doofy looking. Like, I don't like the way they did the face. I'd like him to look more vicious, but maybe it's the art style. But Karen is a huge one for me.
And they say they revisited it too. Like, afterwards, they did say that.
And there's definitely other faces, not like the whole Chester Cheeto kind of looking.
I was going to say, they reminded me a little bit too much of Chester Cheetah. And while I don't necessarily have anything against Chester Cheetah, it's that I'm playing a vicious, mean cheetah that looks like it's going to hand me a bag of Cheetos any second.
With the British accent and the cool glasses.
Right?
I don't know. If you saw the adult Cheetos commercials, those are dark. Like, Chester Cheetah becomes like this, like a guy you do not want to see in a dark alley. It's creepy.
Whoa. Where are you watching? I don't even want to know.
Chad, you're so weird.
No, it's all about power. Like he's almost like a Morpheus of Cheeto's power, and he always sits these people down in these awkward situations where they choose between something normal and something with a Cheeto. And when they choose the Cheeto, it's always like stepping into the dark side. It's creepy.
Come to the dark side. We have Cheetos.
It's like, do you say, it's like, wait, what is it, like something real dark? It's like, save your child, or have a bag of Cheetos.
No, it's not like that, but it has these undertones that are pretty creepy out. Like, check it out. Absolutely check it out. But, so, Tamlin, you didn't really say what race you're looking forward to next other than dwarves, because, is dwarves your main answer? Because then you went on the gnome tangent, I wasn't sure. Dwarves
and humans, wood elves to a small extent, but I don't think like I can really contribute as much to the wood elves because like I can see stone and brick and that type of thing a lot easier in my head than I can see like trees and stuff like that.
And for me, I was commenting on the gnomes, but I would like to see gnomes, but I think I'm more of a dwarves and ogre. Because I don't think anyone's mentioned ogre, and I really would be interesting to see what people can do with like an ogre build, like bone and like just dark and maybe leathery looking things and stuff like that. And then like the dwarves, like the stone and steel and carved out of like you got to think about it. It's like you got to really try to like make it look like it's carved out of the mountain and stuff like that with it. Like, and that's gonna put a lot of people to the test. Because it's a lot of carving work that you have to like smooth it out and try to get it right, and it's not just a standing structure. Now you're building into a mountain and building halls and stuff like that into mountains. So
we should also like if you're watching right now and you say what you're looking forward to in the chat, and so we can get like a feel for what other people are into, and if you have the inclination, tell us why. We want to hear. We'll read them out.
We're seeing things like Froglocks so far. Battletoads. Froglocks, I don't know if I'm gonna miss Froglocks if they're not in EQ next. I mean, I was never
I need to weigh in, so clearly I'm a Dark Elf supporter. But Ratonga.
Velix, that's Velix's Froglock right there. He hates the rat guys, but I like the rat guys.
You know what? It's because of Pentapod.
Oh, because
I'm going to be honest.
I want to see Ratonga go fierce, too. Like, you know how they're talking about Karens, where there's the lion Karen and there's, like, the leopard Karen, but they all kind of have this culture that's shared. Right. I'd like to see, like, the dirty sewer rat Ratonga that you're just afraid is going to bite your face off, and then I want to see the really cute kind of gerbil hamster guy, too. Ratonga would be cool. Maybe would they live in like a giant city built of pipes and things like that, and cardboard structures? Like, how small do you want to see them? Because I'd like to be like Tyler Mill style, you know.
I'm sorry, Throckmorton in chat was like bird races equals Sam Eagle from the Muppets. And I'm just thinking there's a race of like blue eagles at EQ just going, very proper, very deep voice, no.
He was one of my favorites from the Muppets. When I was a kid, the Muppets used to really creep me out. And Sam Eagle was like the only, like him and Animal and Beaker were the only three that I didn't find creepy.
Sam Eagle had those like thick Drake eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
I just made fun of Drake. I'm just waiting for the chat to catch up on that one.
What about the fun? What about the Fae? We've had no mention of them, and I sort of love them.
Mushroom houses?
Right. Fae / Erisai, I don't know. I hated when they put them in EQ2, but a lot of people love them.
Yeah.
I'm shocked nobody's really talked about trolls, because those were like an early founding race. They were one of the originals, and they haven't been talked about, even by the devs. Like, they haven't even really talked or anything about like.
You start mentioning trolls in chat, and people are like, "Who was it? Who was the troll?" Kidding. Like, nobody. That was a horrible. That's
true. No trolls.
That was totally you, Flatus. You were the troll.
That was the troll.
There's no trolls because you have to pay to get in, and so they're just not here yet.
Well, wasn't the troll? True, not. Was it the troll that had the character model of the giant butt crack? in EQ1.
Yes,
They
yep.
remade it. Yeah, see, so it's iconic. Like, purposely, giant butt crap going up the side of the troll. Slaves to the tear doll, weren't they, in EQ1? EQ2, they slendered them down, and they made them very trolly looking. Like, very kind of slimy, pond-like creatures. But you're right, we haven't heard anything about them for EQ Next.
Not that I want to like change subjects, but considering based on the lore that we're all coming back from like where we sailed to, we're coming back to reclaim our land.
Yeah.
As a group. The Tyr doll, of course, is a race that people want to play, but it doesn't. It seems like they're not on the boat with us. Of course, they're not like, well, guys. We've been here. So you would think that there is some sort of little separate, like there would still be like if they're tiered all there, so you would see like maybe ogres and trolls with them. And
yeah, it depends on how far in the history we are too. Like it could be years after everyone's kind of come back together. It could be where you're finding these different settlements. The humans, they released some of the human lore. I don't know if you guys caught that, Tamlin, talking about Halas. Basically, the humans were originally from up north, and that's where Halas got founded and stuff like that. So I don't know if we're necessarily going to see like a barbarian as a race either. Maybe barbarian's just an offset of human.
Right, and that's one of the. Well, thanks for pointing that out to me. That means I need to catch up on the lore. I've been kind of busy, like I mentioned last weekend. I went back to Seattle, but I think that the reason why we're not talking about like the trolls and even the Ixar is because like I just went to the wiki and here are the confirmed playable races. Like we've got Karen, dwarf, human, elf, dark elf, and ogre. And then for unconfirmed races, that's where we get like the Froglock, the Troll, the Fae, the Barbarian. And I think that like that's one of the things, like every time they do the art style sheet, we can be like, well, is this for a player race or is this for a non-player character race? And so we'll get like confirmation of like what races are in the game.
On that note,
it's Father's Day, and that was my...
It's on that note that while you're talking, one thing I've noticed that they've done through like reading the lore really heavily is that some races have almost got kind of merged because like the Tyr Dao really, I think the Draken have kind of been replaced by the Tyr Dao because they're this like dragon touched, and don't take that pervertedly because they actually put lore out. They didn't sleep with dragons.
We covered that last episode. You're good.
Okay, good.
Everyone's covered
So the Tyr Dao, I look at them as like they're still the Tyr Dao, the Dark Elves, but they've kind of replaced what the Draken were in a racial sense, So that's one thing I'm thinking about with how you were just talking, Chad, with the lore about the human, with the humans from being up north. Maybe the barbarians and the humans are just one thing,
offsets,
and it will have enough. And we'll have enough, character creative options to make them tall like a barbarian or small, So
and like
I don't know,
the lore set up to kind of be that choice between good and evil and making your own destiny and what is their big buzzword? A world of consequence, a life of consequence. So you could see that being completely important to maybe introducing like 4 or 5 main races and then introducing culture. Just like we have in the real world. Like we have like 2 or 3 races, whatever race even means in the real world. But then you have all these diverse cultures. So you could have the humans where there's the barbarian humans and then there's the humans in the Kinos that are completely different. You can see the Tyr Doll that used to be Kawada Doll. That used to be just normal kind of high elves, I guess, that were tortured and became their own kind of offset race. But then there could be diversity between them too and all kinds of things. So it's definitely going to be fascinating. The only thing I worry about is that development time. Like, how can you make such a diverse, amazing world in developmental time that we're supposed to be getting beta by like next year? I don't know.
What I'm thinking too about right on your timeline issues, like since it's going to be so much like player generated content, they're going to put these systems in, and then we're going to change the world and stuff.
Yeah,
I think the content patches, so to speak, when they add stuff in, can be that, like additional races, additional stuff like that comes in. Yeah.
That's definitely true, like expansions. I mean, all MMOs, they do have expansions going over time, so maybe they are really trying to focus on that core exploration gameplay, and then using the rallying calls to bring in this story, bring in the new races.
Well, actually, you gotta rethink it now, because look at Guild Wars 2, they're not doing expansions, they're doing content updates. Yeah. And they're calling them seasons, and the second season is going to start. They're adding a whole new continent for that. That's major. I mean, look at Final Fantasy XIV. They're adding a whole new class and for for a patch. It's not even their expansion yet, and they're already adding the rogue and the rogue class and the ninja job. So it's from what we think MMOs have done in the past with expansions, it's changed now, and we're in this new era of content where they're going to just give us content. They're just going to be, here it is, here, like, whatever you want to call it, it's content. If you want to call it season 1, season 2, and that's all your content right there. If you want to call it what SOE's calling it, which I forgot the name of it already. Chewy, somebody threw it in my head.
The Life of Consequence? Is that what you're talking about?
No. Their content when they release it, their
rallying calls.
The rallying calls. So if you want to call it rallying calls, it's all new content. I think it's a genius way of doing things. I think.
A giant public event to introduce new content where it's not just a loading screen or something.
And it intrigues people, because my favorite thing about, like, at least like when I played Warcraft, when a new expansion came out, they did that, like, right before the expansion came out, there was like a week or 2 week window where they would do like all the special content that led into the new and that's always so much fun. So imagine a rallying call that led into all the new content. You find a missing bog, and then you find the frog locks, or you go north and you find the barbarians, and you find all, like, you dig underground, and then bam, Ratonga, you free them, and they become a playable race. And
absolutely. And the cool thing is like, it's not just a signature quest, because the games have done that. EQ2 did that to release the Froglock. It was not a launch race. They actually had a giant world event that introduced the race to the game, and that was back in 2004, so it's not new. But the fact that this rallying call is built into the game where you unlock the content when it's there, that means that content's done when that rallying call's put in. But it's up to you to actually find that shit. Like, it's not going to be some little trigger that happens and then boom, the new zone appears. It's going to be out in the world, and you're just going to have to go find it. You're going to have to explore. Just like at caves right now. You have to find those other caves. It's going to be something like that. You're just going to walk out there one day and find a new path, and then that path's going to take you to this giant city, and you're going to tell your friends about it. And now all of a sudden, all you guys are going to that new city. And it's pretty sweet. But I don't know, that makes me wonder, how are they deciding what needs to be in the game day one? Like, how are they figuring out what has to be there to give us enough content to play while they build the rest of the stuff? That's, I don't know. That's a tough question to answer.
I know. It's interesting that you... Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I still say that the way they need to introduce Ratonga is like, hey, you kill 10 rats, and then you don't kill the 10 rats, and guess what happens? Ratonga!
That would be awesome.
For the rat uprising.
It would be like Planet of the Apes.
It's like Planet of the Ratonga. Some weird, like, scientist is just working on a rat.
Oh, it could be really sad too. What if they send you down this sewer and you start killing all these rats, and then it turns out they introduce this, like, love story where rats are like humans, and you've been murdering all their, like, family members and things like that. Am I going too dark with this? But
you're still stuck on that Chester cheetah thing.
It would be a pretty heartbreaking moment.
Do you kill all these rats, or do you want a bag of Cheetos?
I don't know. Maybe it's a little dark, but
maybe they just try to share their cheese with you. Dude,
maybe.
If you don't kill me, I'll give you my little piece of cheese.
It's all I have, but I'll promise you so much more if you let me live. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be pretty awesome.
I would think going into this, they would want at least a good set of races, and then a good, like, at least that 40 set of classes to start. They promised. I know that was mentioned. So at least
they promised 40 at launch.
So and then you have to think, how long do rallying? I mean, I know there's two types of rallying calls. There's the overarching rallying call that takes place, and then there's like the kind of like the main quest, and then there's the quests we kind of find out in the open world.
And that's due to the Life of Consequence. So the rallying call, I think, was supposed to be like a 2-month window from what we heard at SOE Live last year. It could have changed, who knows, but I think they're thinking about a month to 2 months of, you're unlocking this content, you're developing the story. And then on top of it, the Life of Consequence comes in by the fact that, the AI does things for certain reasons. So you clear out that village, and because you did that, the orcs go and kill their neighbors or something, and then boom, dynamic quest opportunities. So yeah. Welcome back, Tana.
Welcome back.
Hey, I didn't expect my daughter to call, but she did. And if it was anybody else, I would have just put it on silent. Nice. But it's Father's Day, and it's my daughter, so I'm going to answer the phone.
Not a
And
problem.
I'll have you know, that just like her dad, you want to know what we talked about? We talked. She just started reading *The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe*, and we talked about *The Ranger's Apprentice*, which is a book that she recommended I read.
Nice.
Just wait until she starts talking about how random interactions kill crafting, and then you're going to be set, Tamlin. Then you're just going to town.
Oh no, he got to hang out with her, and he could barely drag her away from the group that she was in her little video game.
Nice.
She was grouped, and she flipped him shit for trying to leave the house with her.
That's so
but
cool.
I'm in this group.
It's true. And then the next day, right? Like, so that was the night before, and I'm like, hey, we need to go out and we need to do things. You need to get off the game. And she was like, but I'm in a group. And I'm like, I don't care. Get out of the group. Right? And then the next day, right? Like, we get up early in the morning and we have some place to be. And I see that she's already gotten up and she's on her laptop playing her game. And I'm like, don't get in any groups with anybody because we've got things that we got to do today.
And she's not a teenager either. It's not like she's a 13, 14, 15-year-old girl. It's hysterical. I was not in Seattle with her. I am only recanting the story that I've been told.
Dad, you don't understand. And here, I'm a defender. I brave the Fargo deep mine and defeat the blufffish at Jared's Landing. Dad, you don't understand.
Alex, you were going to say something before we went on this crazy tangent. Do you remember it?
Yeah. I was talking about what you brought up about having how much content do they want to have, for launch. It's an interesting question because, we're experiencing the open development of Landmark, and, how early did we get in that game? So now we've got all this established by Landmark. How early are we going to get in EverQuest next? Or are they going to have it more of a, since this is basically a developer-designed version of Landmark, they're taking everything like this to gear a specific style of game, do they wait until it's more polished, until they let people into an alpha or a beta? Because it's interesting. I don't know what they're going to do.
You have to consider the story and the importance of a narrative in an MMORPG. The fact that you're not just interacting in some random world, but you're building a second life. You're building a second character of yourself and an extension. And you're doing so in a fictional land. We can't just be thrown into an environment when the story's not done. So it's not like it can't, I don't think it can be nearly as early as Landmark. They're going to have the essential game down. They're going to have the storylines in place. They're going to have the NPCs working. Then they can build on from it. But it can't be major systems that are not ready by the time we get in that game. If not, people are just going to throw it to the side. They might come back 6 months later, but that's not what you want. You want to be building the total 6 months.
I kind of look at it as like Landmark, the whole entire game is like the alpha for... It's basically the alpha for EverQuest Next, and then when they get into the beta, that's like, okay, the story's 80% complete. Here's our 80% complete story game. And then, I don't know, that's a way that I kind of think of it after what you just said.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with MMOs is that you have to have fun mechanics, and you have to have the ability of having a fun... You have to make your game fun. At the end of the day, the game has to be fun. If you can't get a fun game, then you're gonna have a lot of problems. I mean, not to poke, sticks at people that may have played. Like when I did a beta test for Elder Scrolls Online, I just didn't think Elder Scrolls Online was fun. Not to say it's a bad game, not to say that I want to see the company fail. Just it wasn't fun. It didn't feel like... I know they were trying to go balance the feel of an Elder Scrolls game with an MMO, and it just didn't feel like what they were planning to do. And
the launch of an MMO is vital. You can relaunch it free to play later, but especially when you're launching it free to play, that game's got to be legit. Look what happened to games like Age of Conan and so many games. Final Fantasy had to take their game completely down and spend 2 more years rebuilding it basically from scratch.
Yeah, but they did it. I mean, they did.
But imagine the kind of losses they took financially and things like that.
They went from the red to the black. I mean, they were like a pretty much a sieve of money, and then they went and actually made money on Final Fantasy 14. So they pulled it around. So good on them. And not everyone can be Blizzard and just keep on printing money. So you have to nail it. You really have to nail it. Yes.
Absolutely. Beta tests kill the game for me sometimes when it comes to MMOs. I don't know if you guys have felt that when you beta tested a game in the past and you work through that storyline already and stuff like that, and you get to the main game, and you're like, oh, cool, I get to do this all again. And you lose the excitement. I don't know.
See, we beta tested Star Wars, and that's why I said, like, just seeing the beta test, and then I'm like, this is not like, I love playing MMOs, but this is not one that I'm particularly going to enjoy. And yeah, I'm trying to think of what other games that I've beta tested, but none are coming to mind right at the moment.
Beta tested a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, when right before, like, the latest Warcraft expansion came out, like, I had access to the beta test. I chose not to be involved with it because I'm like, what am I going to contribute? I don't want to have to, and that's like what you guys were just saying, like, you don't want to have to see the same content twice. Like, I'd rather see it fresh the first time, the polished time, not, work through their figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
One thing too to steer us back onto EverQuest Next, like, it's going to be a totally different beast too, because the world will always be different. Like, the content will always be new because the world's going to change. Like, you're never going to repeat the same stuff. So it's going to be weird because, that goes back to the same thing too about how much content has to get done. They really have to have everything initially in there. Otherwise, steerable content won't be totally possible.
SOE was talking about modular releases back at GDC, I think it was. They're like, we're trying to change the way MMOs are being made by modularly making it and making experiences out of the testing. Well, I like what you said, Velux, about Landmark really being the alpha for EQN, because of the fact that EQN needs to be more of, you're going to beta test it, but it's going to be like the Blizzard polished beta. Like, you're beta testing it, you're getting early access, you might help us out. But at the same time, it's polished. It works well. The game's there. And Blizzard's always been good at that, making the quality first before making it kind of public, even in the testing phases. And I hope they do that with EQN, because I want EQN to succeed probably as much as everybody else around here. And quality.
I mean, I'm the biggest one for pushing that too. Like, especially because I was, I think, the last person to come into the SOE side of things. So, just from when I watched SOE live last year and seeing what I saw on screen, just the concept of, like, the different tiers of land, and where you can be knocked into the cave area, and there's a whole other that. Like I said, and I've said it before, I think that they're truly building the new Norath and the next to be one of, I mean, that's not you don't have just the flat world on top now. You have these under, and then probably in the sky as well. So you have all this.
Yeah, and the lore that goes with it too. The farther you dig down is farther back in history. Who knows what kind of storylines could be unlocked? That, maybe dragons are discovered because of the fact that someone dug all the way to the bottom and found a scroll or something like that and learned about it, and that came the whole story. I don't know.
The AI too is huge for that, because, like, you think about it, from all the stuff you guys are saying, you go down, you find something underground, you come back with it, and an NPC recognizes you have this item, and all of a sudden they treat you totally differently, and it creates a whole nother spider web of interactions. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
And that's my hope about the AI and the way that they're talking about it, is that the AI behaves in ways that they can't predict, and if their AI just, like, starts doing something, that they react to that, and hey, we had no idea that all of the orcs would congregate in this part of the forest right in here, but because we've seen them do it on, like, all these multiple servers we have, we're going to turn that into a fortress the next time we do a rally call. And now it is a term. Now it went from something that the AI developed. Now we're going to make it a permanent feature.
And then eventually maybe they'll destroy it, because
and then maybe we'll destroy it, so it's not really permanent.
Yeah, right.
But it sounded like
can be destroyed. What?
From the different panels and stuff that, like, interviews Dave's had, it sounded like that will be, like, part of the game, like, built in. Like, they will erect a fortress if they're all congregating anyway. That's like, but yeah, what you said, like, just noticing something and then adding new content to the game that way. Adding new NPCs, new actions for NPCs to take. It, like, adds content without adding, the huge patch content.
Right.
Yeah, which is really nice and really different. It makes the world living. It's not just like watching the NPC walk back and forth. and back and forth and wondering what they're thinking. Like,
Yeah.
If I walk, I'm gonna walk left today. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna
That
do
reminds
it.
me of
No.
the episode of The Guild. I think it's like season 3 or something like that. Where I forget his name, something Boo.
Abu?
Abu,
or-
Taboo, Nabu, yeah, whatever.
We're gonna get so hassled for that.
Yeah, we are gonna get hassled
Wow.
for that. But anyways, the character falls in love with an NPC in the game that's like this new underwater area, and she's this mermaid. Well, he starts like building rep with her, and over time he like falls in love with this character, you know, because he has a distorted sense of reality and things like that. But his rep gets like restored because they like reset the beta test or something like that, and he loses his love with her, and she doesn't recognize him anymore, and he's completely distraught. That's kind of what NPCs are right now. It's building rep, and once you build the rep, that's it. But hopefully this AI will build new types of interaction, and hopefully some that are not that repetitive, because yeah, the story might change, and yeah, the events might change, but if we're still interacting the same way by killing 5 of this creature and chopping down 5 of these trees 24/7, then it's not changing that much. But we have no idea about that. That's never been talked about. We'll see.
Listen, I'm gonna save our asses. It's Zabu.
It is Zabu. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's Zabu. It's Zabu. Listen, I'm just saving us. Send all hate mail to chewina@gmail.com.
It's sad that that's my real email.
Well, that happened. It's chewina99@gmail.com.
Wow.
Listen, I accidentally gave Tobrins away online once, and I did
Oh my
that. Tobrin was like, "Great, thanks."
I'll never forget. I think it was Matt Higby on a episode of the Command Center for PlanetSide 2 gave away Tramel's real phone number on the stream, and Tramel kept getting calls from people live the whole time. But Tramel's someone where like you'll call him once, and he'll scare the shit out of you, and you'll never call him again. So it worked out for him, but I could see it going so
No,
wrong.
I've seen other game developers think that they were replying to a direct message and tweet out like their work email address. I think it was one of the Titanfall developers did that. It's like you delete it after you realize what you've done, but there for a split second you're like, "Oh my god, what have I done?" So we have about like 5 minutes left. Do we have any final thoughts? Wrap this up. Put it in the can. Burn the hay.
Yeah. My one bitch is back to the marketplace, and I broke my rule the first time and bought the stupid purple Victorian outfit, even though it was more station cash than other colors. And I was like, maybe they were just doing it to see if they could get away with it, and then they did it again with a new outfit, and it's like, I really want it, but I'm not paying 200 station cash extra just because it's black. Just like I wouldn't go into a store and buy a black t-shirt over a blue t-shirt when the black t-shirt costs $2 more. So that's my bitch.
I agree with you completely. I'll keep it short. Like anything in a store on a like a cash-based store, if it's just a color swap, it should be the same price across the board. If it took more time to create the item, then it should cost more. If it takes you a week to create something like a cloak that has like flowing lava, designed into it, and that took a week to design, then I can understand that's 1,000 station cash. If it's a cloak that's got a rainbow of colors, that should be 500 station cash across the board. Not like, since it's purple, it's going to cost 700 and it's the same design and everything. That doesn't make sense to me.
This brings up a lot of like crazy ideas. You've already seen virtual currencies come into play. Yes, when you buy station cash, it's like one company. You're giving them your money, and then it's like a gift certificate to Red Lobster or something. You go and you buy a gift card. Doesn't matter what you do with that gift card. You can spend it on whatever menu item you want. You still give the money to the company, so it doesn't matter. But you see these transactions happening more and more often online. What's going to happen when, there needs to be a real supply and demand chain for these items? Like when there's a true virtual economy out there and you spend more money online than anywhere else. Will that ever happen? Or will it always be that company that's just dictating the prices? And anyways, discussion for a totally different time. It is interesting that you bring it up. I don't know if I have a problem with it right away because I haven't bought anything from the store. And I don't know if I see anything wrong with it right away either because, yeah, it probably didn't take them long, but it is that you don't have to buy the item. You know, you could craft the shirt that doesn't look as pretty. I don't know. I'm kind of
the reason that I have a problem with it is because it's not using in-game currency to purchase it. It's using real-life currency to purchase it. It's a freaking digital item, and there is absolutely no reason that identical digital item in blue is 800 station cash, but it in black is 1,000 station cash. And because black is more popular, they're going to get. I know it's $2 real. Oh God, it's $2, but that's $10 for an outfit for a digital world that, I mean, I can't really use it. I can't really do anything with it. It's strictly a vanity item. So why, I mean, it just, I don't know.
It is a good point. No, it really is a good point because yes, they're trying to make money. Yes, this is a free-to-play game and they need to monetize it, but they also kind of need to be fair. And yeah, they might be poking around to see if this works, but in the end, if it puts off more people than it does to want them to purchase the item, then it's probably not a smart move to make. I don't know. We'll have to have another discussion on this in a future episode. I do want to say that we are now high definition on our Twitter at 1080 followers. Yeah. Was that nerdy? I'm sorry.
Twitter? We're high definition.
We are at 1,080 followers on Twitter. 1080p, get it? We're high definition.
Oh,
we're too legit
God.
to quit now,
I'm going to tell you the same thing I have to tell my 14-year-old son. If you have to add the words get it at the end of a joke, it's not funny.
Well, see, I saw Tanlin, Velix, and Flatus, like, smile. So I don't know. I think
I was wondering where you were going, but then I got it, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
We're gonna end the show on that. Thanks.
Well, first,
I'm gonna wrap it up.
The show, right?
This is where we're like camping in 1080p. 5.
We should all say it unison. Okay, what were you gonna say, Taylor?
I was gonna say, I noticed that Vilux has on his Twitter that he's a father. I know my dad follows the show and he plays the MMOs with me. I'm a father myself, as you saw me run off to answer the phone to talk with my daughter. But happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yep, happy Father's Day.
And I wanted to throw that in there one more time before we camp the show out.
Yeah, and I want to throw it to Velix. You know how we camp the show out, right, Velix? Just like camping at 5? Come on, yeah. You kind of just go ahead, tell everyone who you are, where you're from, what they can kind of look out for, and where they can find you, and then just close us up.
Alright, so I write for EQ Hammer and 10 Ton Hammer. I've got a lot of articles there. You guys can check them out. And 10 Ton Hammer actually has something really big coming up soon. Pretty big, so watch for that. Anyways, follow me on Twitter. Check out the articles, and I will see you guys later. Camping us in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.